So once Betty's got the whole estate in her name and got all of the probate and estate administration settled behind her, she goes on for a while, but then her health kind of takes a turn. In fact, it takes a real turn for the worst. She develops Alzheimer's. And so one of the big questions is going to be, who's going to make decisions for Betty? So, when we talked about this plan they put in place, we didn't really talk about them having power of attorneys in place. And so since she didn't elect who she wanted to make decisions, we're going to have to go through a court proceeding called a guardianship or a conservatorship. And that's a pretty tough process. It's a lot like a probate, but during life. And it takes some time and it takes some money. But what's more than that is it's hard on the person that's trying to help you. And it's hard on you, the person that needs help. And so it's just a bad situation all around that we're stuck with just because we didn't have a little bit more documentation on the front end. But what may be the bigger problem is the cost of long-term care. Right now, the cost of care per month for an individual for a nursing home in our area is between $7,000 and $8,000 a month. So we're talking between $80,000 and $100,000 a year. That can eat up even the largest estates very, very quickly. And so who pays for that? Your Medicare does not cover that, except for 20 days and up to maybe another 80 days for rehabilitation care. But after that, they're done. So that's 100 days possible. That's not a long-term solution. Your regular health insurance does not cover that. Now, there is a type of insurance called long-term care insurance, which I'm going to talk about in a little while. But for now, let's assume that Betty doesn't have that. So what we're left with this plan that she's got in place is not only has she elected in a probate, but she's also elected in something called the spin down, which is I elect to spin my assets down to near zero so that I can qualify for a government benefit. For our veterans, there's a benefit called aid and attendance. And what that is a monthly benefit that can pay for in-home care, nursing home care, or assisted living care. And all that you have to do to qualify for that is a certain resource limit, so you'd still have to spin down, but you have 90 days of active duty, with 1 day being during a period of wartime. So if you fit that, you can spin down and qualify for that benefit. For everyone else, we're left with the Medicaid program. What that is I elect to spend to near zero so that the Medicaid program will pay for my nursing home expenses, not in-home care and not assisted living, just the nursing home. And so there's a few consequences to this spin down that you've elected into. And that is, for one, it's not just your assets you have to spin down. It's also your spouse's assets. And so while one of you is in a nursing home getting care, the other spouse is living in virtual poverty. So it's very tough on couples when we have to have a long-term care situation like this. Also, we've been talking about how do we leave stuff to the kids. You don't have to worry about that anymore. There's not going to be anything left. But what may be the biggest concern for a lot of our clients is what happens if I spin down and then the government program changes, or I need some kind of supplemental care that isn't covered by the plan? Who's going to pay for that? Then we're left in the awkward situation of having to ask the kids for help, having to ask those kids for money. So that's a tough situation that nobody really wants to be in. How do we protect these assets for you while you're alive in the event that you need long-term care? The answer is we're able to protect 100% of these assets if we pre-plan. If we do things ahead of time, we can make sure that your entire estate can be preserved even in the event that you need long-term care for a long period of time. With this, we typically are talking about another type of trust. It's called a long-term care or an asset protection trust. This type of trust allows us to move your assets over into the trust so that they no longer count against you. You get to stay the trustee though, so you're still in complete control of the assets. By putting this plan in place early enough, we elect out of the spin down, which means your spouse doesn't have to live in poverty, which means we don't have to worry about asking the kids for any money, and it means that we might be able to leave the kids something after you pass away. And so this again is different than the long-term care insurance. Now, even if you have a situation where you need to go into care tomorrow, we can usually protect about 60% overnight. And so we've gone from a 100% spin down to just a 40% spin down. That's pretty good. And so if you were a loved one or in a nursing home now, but there's still assets left to protect, we can still help. And so when we talk about what government benefits you can qualify for by protecting these assets, for our veterans, again, it's that VA aid and attendance benefit. For that, we have to put that in place 3 years before you need the care, if we want to get 100% protection. If, on the other hand, you are not a veteran and you don't qualify for that benefit, and we have to look at the Medicaid benefit, we have to do that 5 years in advance. And so we want to try and get this in place as soon as possible. We start recommending this planning at 65. If I could tell you the exact day you were going to need nursing home care, I could tell you the exact day we need to put this trust in place. But I'm not that good, And so I start recommending around 65. Now, this trust is not the same as long-term care insurance. It's different. What it is the ability to qualify for these benefits. For a Medicaid benefit, it pays for your nursing home care over your income. Your Social Security and your pension still has to go to the nursing home, but your savings does not because the Medicaid program pays for it. And with these nursing homes, we're not talking about, the bottom tier state-run nursing homes. Most private nursing homes accept Medicaid. The long-term care insurance, on the other hand, is something that pays for not only nursing home, but it can pay for in-home care or assisted living. If you have that in place, or if you're interested in it, that's something we can help you do. Part of our team will be able to help you look at the long-term care insurance that you have, or maybe look into getting new long-term care insurance. If you come in and you've got long-term care insurance that pays $450 a day for life, you don't need the long-term care trust. And so we would go through that together and see what makes the most sense for you. And then we would make a recommendation.
To learn more about estate planning, trusts, and long-term care planning, watch our full workshop online. By watching, new clients will receive a no-obligation consultation with a Rhodes Law Firm attorney.